What's up, NextGen Steelers, and welcome to my channel where we talk all things football and all things Steelers. From a young fan, for young fans. Now, I don't really know what to say about that game besides the fact that it was a classic Steelers versus Ravens matchup. I was really stressed out towards the end of it, and I'm not sure I'll live past the end of the season, honestly, because I can't keep watching these kinds of games. But a win is a win. The Steelers pulled it out. This was a very important one. They are now at the top of their division. Let's get into what changes they made, and let's see who their next opponent is. The biggest and most important thing the Steelers did right in this game was they threw the deep ball, and they did it very well. Aaron Rodgers ended up throwing for 284 yards, 293 if you deduct his awkward catch for that tipped ball. But anyway, he had a very good day. He threw a lot of beautiful passes, including the 52-yard bomb to DK on their first play, and that pass to Cal, which was really perfect and came at a time when the Steelers offense really kind of needed that spark to get them going. Rodgers did a good job scrambling around when no one was really open. He made some nice plays and throws on the run, like the 41-yard hookup to DK. I mean, he and DK both had amazing days, and it showed why we brought both of them to Pittsburgh. DK to be that guy who generates a bunch of big plays, and Rodgers to be the guy who takes command of the offense in those hard games and hard plays. One thing the Steelers did terrible at was running the ball. They couldn't stop the run against the Ravens, and they couldn't run the ball either. They put up, I think it was 34 yards against the Ravens, and that's just not enough. The Steelers' time of possession was better than it was in other games, but it still was not good enough to keep the defense from getting very tired of Derrick Henry smashing into them. So the Steelers have to control the clock better in their upcoming game against Miami. Also, I still don't think there were enough throws to the middle of the field. Adam Thielen is really good over the middle. We have a bunch of tight ends that are good over the middle. I mean, Darnell Washington did get hurt, and we all should be hoping that he's back for Miami because he is a very significant part of this offense with receiving and blocking. The Steelers' offensive line did not do a very good job. Rodgers had to scramble and move around on quite a few plays, and they did not open any holes whatsoever for any running back. Jaylen Warren was limited to 13 yards on the ground, and it didn't seem like it was Warren because he was running with all his speed and his strength, but there just seemed to be three Ravens everywhere Warren was. Gainwell was able to get some yards and some nice plays. He had 4 carries for 15 yards, but even he had to reverse the field and do all sorts of crazy stuff because the offensive line wasn't opening up holes for him. Now, you could credit that to Darnell Washington not being on the field, but the offensive line needs to be better, and they've generally been a lot better at run blocking than they are at pass protection. The defense played with a lot of heart. They made a lot of big splash plays. TJ Watt got to Derrick Henry behind the line of scrimmage a few times. Alex Highsmith made that big play on the 4th down to end the game. He also had some other nice plays. Patrick Queen got hurt and then came back in to play the last few snaps of the game, and he made an impact. But the defense also allowed over 200 rushing yards to Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, and it really wasn't so much Derrick Henry because they did a decent job stopping him considering what he did to them in the playoffs last year. But the Ravens would take Henry off the field, bring in some no-name changeup back, and then he would run for 30 yards. That can't happen. They were doing a good job defending against the great running back, and then a no-name change-up back comes in and completely destroys them? That just can't happen. But, like I said earlier, a win is a win, and this was a very important one. The Steelers are now first place in the division, and with the Bengals taking another loss, it seems like they have a chance to hold that till the end. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But this week, we have the Miami Dolphins, who have actually turned out to be not as bad a team as some of us expected. Tua Tagovailoa has been decent, and he hasn't gotten hurt yet, which is a big surprise, and a pleasant one for Miami fans. His number one receiver right now, Jalen Waddle, he's been making a lot of big plays. He's only about 5'10", though, so if the Steelers are able to mismatch him against, like, say, Joey Porter Jr., he might have a harder time getting open against Porter. They also have a really good running back in Devon Achane, and he can run and catch really well, so Steelers definitely have to stop the run against Miami. One thing that the Steelers definitely need to do against the Dolphins offensively is they have to run the ball. They haven't really done a good job running the ball since Chicago, and they have a lot of great guys to do it. They have Jaylen Warren, who's an amazing, very slippery running back. And they have Kenny Gainwell, who isn't as much of a bruiser as Jaylen Warren is, but he's got the speed and he's got the moves to make some nice plays. And you also have Caleb Johnson, who, while he still is a rookie, can still make decent plays if the Steelers can get him some holes. But they also shouldn't be shying away from the deep ball. If they get the same amount of one-on-ones with DK, which I can't imagine they will, they still need to throw those deep balls, because that was what won them the game, really. It was Aaron Rodgers' timing and his accuracy on those dimes. It's very important that the Steelers get those chunks. But the chunks can come in many ways. The Steelers have barely used Pat Freiermuth in the middle of the field this year. And that is a problem, because that's kind of where he excels. He's really good on sit-down routes where he can use his reliable hands. So an offensive possession doesn't have to look like 3 deep balls to DK. It can just look like 2 quick Jaylen Warren runs for 3 yards, and on 3rd and 4, run a sit-down route with Pat Freiermuth and let him get the first down. Also, Jonnu Smith. He's been used pretty much only with the screen passes, but he's good at so much more. He can do some of the stuff that Freiermuth can do, but he can also run downfield routes that not very many tight ends can do. And of course, Darnell Washington, who should really be the Steelers' number 1 tight end right now, and should get to the usage of one. He's pretty good over the middle. He's just great with like a short pass and then dragging people with him. That's what he does. He's 311 pounds. One interesting thing that I saw against the Ravens that I think should continue against the Dolphins was that the Steelers had Marquez Valdes-Scantling on the field for quite a few snaps, even when he wasn't catching things. And just having another 6'4", 215-pound receiver out there, besides DK, was clearly enough to intimidate the Ravens enough to leave DK one-on-one way more times than other teams have. Also, having Adam Thielen out was intimidating, but it came at the cost of putting Roman Wilson on the sideline for the day. So whether that means that the Steelers are done with Wilson, or that they're just moving on to Scantling for the sole purpose of getting DK open, that's up for debate. But I think that if it keeps working against other teams, the Steelers should definitely have Scantling out there for a lot more plays and a lot more drives, and they should actually try to get him the ball, because despite his intimidating size, if you make it clear you're not throwing to a guy, eventually the fear aspect will vanish. So definitely keep MVS on the field a lot more often and actually throw him some passes. Same with Adam Thielen. The Dolphins' passing game isn't that good, so it's very important that the Steelers' corners do their part in making sure that they don't allow them to pass all over them. And if they do that, it could mean that we could see more stacked boxes against the Dolphins' running game. And that could mean a lot less explosive plays for the Dolphins and a lot less offense in general. With this in mind, I'm predicting a 24-17 win for the Steelers. Let me know your predictions in the comments below. Here we go, Steelers, and I will see you next week.